It's a pleasure to have you all here today. My name's Festus Amoye, and just a little bit about my business journey. I never really thought I'd be in business. My dad did some business when I was younger, but he wasn't quite successful at it. He migrated here from Nigeria in the 80s, and then we had 4 children. And, Nigerians were very, very big on education. And so our parents really pushed us to get an education. And, there's kind of a ongoing joke that if a Nigerian woman's pregnant and somebody says, "Hey, what are you having?" she'll say, "I'm having a doctor," because of just the attitude and approach of Nigerians towards education. And so fast forward, when I was in high school, unfortunately, my mom passed away when I was 14 and my dad passed away when I was 16. And so just after having go through that hardship and not have support, I didn't think I'd graduate college, let alone, kind of start a business and do anything that was really successful. But again, I pushed forward, and pushing forward led me to the military. And so I was in the military, and I got training as first a medical supply specialist, and then I transferred to combat medic. And then after combat medic, I transferred into occupational therapy. That skill set as an occupational therapy assistant, I had a lot of patients that started to ask me to work with them privately. And so this brings me to kind of the first lesson or first key point I'm going to bring out, which is skills pay bills. Maybe you haven't started your business yet. Maybe you're considering starting your business. Start off with your skill, right? And so what I mean by that is that if you stick with your skill set, with what you're good at, that gives you the opportunity to just highlight what you're already naturally good at as a skill set. The next thing is learn your market, right? Learn your market. And what I mean by that is that I didn't realize as an occupational therapy assistant all the different types of things that I could do as an occupational therapy assistant, or with that skill set as an occupational therapy assistant. And so the last thing is learn to market. And so the thing is, especially if you're kind of in this freelancing, side hustling space, and you're going from, hey, I'm doing this for my employer, and I'm going to go out and do it for myself, you got to learn how to market and how to set yourself apart in that market. So again, fast forward, I had these patients that were asking me about what I do and how I could do it for them. And the second point, which is serve until you're called upon. So are people asking for you? You might be a person who's in a business or working with an employer, but you'll know that you set yourself apart if you're serving until somebody asks for you. When they say, no, I don't want to just have anybody. I want to work with Michael, or I want to work with Patrick, or where's Patrick at? He was handling my thing. Those are the things that help to set you apart, and that are key indicators that you could be starting a business or building a business. And the last thing is to set yourself apart, right? So one of the things I struggled with is self-promotion, right? One of the things I struggled with is telling people what I do, right? And so that did not set me apart. And so until I really honed in and said, I need to set myself apart with what I do, and developed a name. And it took time. It took time to go from, this is Festus Amoye working in X hospital, to Festus Amoye, founder of MedXFit Houston. That took time. And then the last thing I would leave is find your tribe. And these people, I feel like, are part of my tribe, right? And so these people help me grow Ladder Your Success and how we develop Ladder Your Success. We're going to segue here into just kind of opening up an open forum. So let's talk.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much to every single one of you. It was amazing. I've learned so much, in such a little time. It was just so swift, and it was just to the point, and it was just magnificent. It was amazing. Thank you. And especially you, Festus, for hosting this event. Seriously. And thank you for inviting me and for inviting all of us, to come together. It's been truly a pleasure. How did you know it was time to transition? What kind of gave you the sign? Like, how did you know, it was time for you to leave everything else behind, in a sense of, your old job or your own routine and transition?
Okay, I'll kick us off, and then we'll open it up. So for me, once I kept getting requests for people to work with me privately, that's when I kind of knew, like, hey, man, I got some sauce here. You know what I'm saying? And so that was kind of the key indicator, because if it goes to what Wes was saying earlier, actually goes to what Cleo was saying earlier. If somebody's already paying for something and they ask to pay you extra for something that they're already paying for, then that lets you know number one, they're in real pain. Number two, that sets you apart. And then regarding LYS, I think for me personally, even though it's more about social entrepreneurship, I see the need of what's going to happen. Let me say, I see the problem that our future children are going to face. There's a lot of people who are in the inner city, first generation, non-traditional students, and I can see the problems that they're going to face because the financial gap is getting wider, the technology gap is getting wider, the people gaps are getting wider. We have generational problems in which we don't have discussions like these anymore with the younger generation. And so because of that, I felt like now is the time to start impacting that younger generation, get in those classrooms and do that mentoring, because in the future, the gap is going to be so wide that they may not be able to fill that gap. So I hope I answered your question about transitioning.
I had a question real quick. We've heard a lot of success stories, but I think, in a lot of businesses, there's some common obstacles out there that would prohibit us from realizing some of those successes. So if anybody has anything that may have been a barrier in their startup, something like that, I know a barrier for all of us is money, the lack of, and then people. Right now, with the market being the way it is, there's not a lot of good folk to fill a lot of these positions. So in some of your businesses, real quick, can you tell me some of the barriers, some of the obstacles that you faced and maybe how you overcame them?
Okay, man, that's a spicy question. I'll give you 2 points for me. One for the medical exercise business. I transitioned too soon. So I just graduated college. I had like 2 or 3 clients. I said, man, I'm out of here. So next thing you know, it dried up. It started to dry up. And I said, well, what happened? I thought I was good to go. But the biggest problem was I didn't really do my marketing. And that's where I again, learning from Cleo is learn to market, learn your market. And so the thing is, it took time to really do that research, to learn my market, learn where I wanted to be placed in the market. That's a whole nother thing in itself. And so by figuring that out, that helped for me to get some fuel, because as I started to understand my ideal customer, and what I like to call is training your customer, right? Is that ideal customer has a certain way of acting and behaving and different types of things like that. And you learn that, but you also train your customers to kind of be alike, because when you're a solopreneur, when you're just getting started and you're trying to meet everybody's different needs, and this person wants this price and this person wants you to do this special thing for them, and then you're trying to do all of those things for all of those different people, that's where it gets really, really draining for me. And then I would say the second thing for me was in terms of failure and getting up for failure is resources like Upwork, resources like, in terms of tackling the people problem, resources like Fiverr. I'm a big Upwork person myself, and finding people on Upwork because it's a global economy now. And so if you know exactly what you need help with, whether it's website design or whether it's making a flyer, graphic design, whatever, you go on Upwork and the world's your oyster in that regard. So I hope that answered your question.
I had a quick comment. This is Patrick. I think the biggest transition that you have to make in the entrepreneurial mindset is moving to a growth mindset, meaning there is no failure, right? Every failure is an opportunity to evolve. So once you can get yourself into that mindset where you say, all right, this is an obstacle. Now I have to use my creative thinking to solve that problem. That transitions you away from the typical approach where it's like, I have a problem. It's a stopper. Now it's, I have a problem. This is a time for me to expand my thought process and solve this problem. And in solving the problem, you expand your business and the way that you think.
100%. That is bullseye. Thank you for that, Patrick.